All right, welcome. My name is Nile Lundgren. You are listening to the first episode of my latest podcast, and we're going to be dropping a whole lot of gems all over the internet for you come 2023. So this is just the beginning. I wanted to thank you so much for checking in. And while I got you here, it's really, really important that when you're on YouTube checking this out, that you hit the subscribe button. So if you haven't done it already, just take a moment, hit the like button, mash that like button. That'd be great. Hit the subscribe button too. I think that would be terrific. And if you hit the notification bell, I'm not sure if you know this, but you get notified every time I drop a new video, which is pretty cool. I also go live sometimes, maybe a little YouTube live stream, and you would get notified of that as well. Okay, so just by way of background, my name is Nile Lundgren. I work at Serhant. I run a team. It's called the Lundgren team here at Serhant, and I'm currently in the podcast booth. It is quite the honor to be sitting here. It's quite the honor to be talking with you, and it's really a thrill to me that each and every one of you are checking in right now. So I just wanted to talk to you about my story. You know, it's like a lot of you might see me working at Serhant, or you might see me on the internet, and you can make whatever story that you want about me, because, you know, social media is social media, and I could make impressions or judgments about anybody if I'm looking at their social media. So, you know, what I wanted to do here is demystify some of the things about me, and also tell you my story while getting into real estate. It's been a long road. You know, I'm not somebody who has been in the business for 5 years or 2 years or 7 years. This has literally been my entire career. I've been in real estate in many different capacities since I graduated from college. By way of background, I graduated from Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut. Let's go NESCAC. Ryan Serhant also graduated from Hamilton College, which is a NESCAC school. So we are brothers, yet rivals, but brothers at the end of the day. And very proud of that. So when I graduated from Trinity, my story is, and this is how I got into real estate. A lot of people might have gotten into real estate recently because they've seen Sell It Like Serhant, or some of these Netflix shows where they're selling multi-million-dollar listings and the commission checks are hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's insane. How are they doing that? Wow, maybe I should get into real estate, you know? And that's how a lot of you are coming into the business now. You're seeing Instagram, you're seeing Netflix, you're seeing Bravo TV. You're saying, oh my God, wow, I'd love to just work for an hour and make $500,000. Well, I'd love for like that to work and that to actually be the case, but that's so far from the reality. And that's part of what I wanted to do and why I wanted to share my story with you, because, you know, it is from the old school, meaning, you know, I didn't have $1 million listing to watch. I got into real estate by chance, actually. You know, I've been historically in my life, I've always been in sales. So I sold Cutco knives when I was young around Connecticut. So that's where I grew up. I would drive around from town to town and show my friends' moms that their cutlery was no good. And then I'd pull out my cutlery and be like, this is better. Look at this. And I'd come with like pineapples or tomatoes or whatever it is. And we'd slice the fruits on the thing. And I would always pitch. This is one thing about me, is I would always pitch the most, I forget what it was called. It's called like the infinity package or whatever. It was like the biggest one. It was like $2,000 for all these knives, like every complete set, you know, the big ones, the butcher blocks, all those different things. And by pitching so hard, I would always pitch like $2,500, you know, sets of knives. I would always, you know, close at like $200-300 versus other people who would pitch, you know, sets of knives at $300, and then their average order would be $15 because they would just settle on like a peeler, you know. Meanwhile, I'm getting the block, I'm getting, you know, all kinds of goodies thrown in, you know, engraving, you can engrave the knives. So I would just kind of shoot high. And then, you know, if you go really, really high, you know, if you pitch $2,500 at the beginning, $300 is not that much, but if you pitch 300 at the beginning, $40 is where the person's going to end up landing. So I learned that early in my sales career. And I've always kind of done these things. When I was at Trinity, I was on I was in a podcast. I was on not a podcast. It was like a podcast kind of interview, and I got brought onto a reality TV show. Reality TV show. Basically, I moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota one summer, and I sold home security systems door to door. So, by doing these kind of like grassroots and hand-to-hand combat sales, I really learned a lot. So when I found myself graduating from Trinity and ending up here in Brooklyn, I was living in my friend's basement. His name is Marshall. He bought a 2-family house and he was just living down there. And I said, look, let me pop in and live in the basement. So I lived on an air mattress. And the guy that actually sold him the house showed up one day just to check in, and I was there playing video games. And he saw me and he said, what's going on? What are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just playing video games. He's like, you have a job? I said, no, I have no job. I'm still trying to like figure it out, but I do know that I'm in New York and I want to be on TV one day. So, that's what I want to do. And he's like, kid, you're crazy. Look, you should just start in real estate with me. Get into real estate, and start with me. I have all these buildings that I own. You could start literally tomorrow at 8 a.m. I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So I showed up the next day at 8 a.m. No clue what was going on, no license. I didn't even know what was really happening. I was just like, yeah, I'm in New York. This sounds fun. And there's a whiteboard, but I literally had all these addresses up, and I went and I picked up keys, and I would go with my little handheld camera, and I would go from apartment to apartment, take these sideways sloppy pictures, and I'd put them up on Craigslist. And that's how I started. And the first apartment I ever showed, I rented. The first building I ever tried to sell, I sold very, very quickly. And I basically did it just by like calling the people that I've known. We didn't have all these crazy marketing techniques when I first started. I just used the phone a lot, and it worked out very well. So what's crazy is that, I'm here now. I mean, I'm here at Sirhan. I'm talking about all these things on a podcast, and it all comes down to like making a decision. And I made a decision to get into real estate. It worked out very, very well for me. I had no contacts, by the way. I didn't come here knowing a lot of people. What else? I had no money. I showed Luke's here, but I literally have a video where I'm walking around the streets about to get ran over, probably about 14 years ago, starving. And I'm like, dude, I got to close the deal now. I'm going to die. Like literally I was hungry. But at the end of the day, I think that was the good thing. It was 2008. The whole entire global financial market was crumbling and melting. The beautiful thing about me is, I wasn't that smart. So I didn't really realize what was going on. And I just kind of like kept doing what I thought I should be doing, which was going and seeing new pieces of real estate every day. I felt that if I saw a new piece of real estate, it would only help me selling the next piece of real estate. So I kind of, if you're a new agent out there, I mean, every day, if you could see a new piece of real estate, that is the key. Because if you start today, and you come back in 5 years and 10 years and even 14, 15 years where I'm at now, I mean, your product knowledge is immense, and it's deep and it's vast, and it's very, very important. Especially if you're going to add value with buyers or sellers, to have that level of understanding of different types of product throughout the city. There's so much difference. This isn't, all single family homes in middle America. I mean, there's condos, there's co-ops, there's townhouses, there's condops, there's, different down payments, 100% down, 50% down. Is it a new development? Is it coming out of the ground? Is it already built? There's so many different factors in New York that you kind of have to know. And by making a very conscious effort of going out there and seeing new product every day, that will put you in a really solid position. So that's what I did. I was literally just going out there and seeing new pieces of information every single day, new data points. One of the crazy things is that once I left Brooklyn, I joined a residential rental company in Manhattan, 2009, and I got trained up very, very well by those guys. I really thought it was an amazing way just to learn about the importance of leads, documenting every point about your leads so you have touch points to go back to them on, following up, how to have a really solid and serious introductory conversation with your clients so that you really know what's going on. It's not just black and white, but teaching you to learn how to read between the lines and what people are really saying. Um, and what I really learned was the importance of relationship building. Because when you start out, everyone watches the TV, like I was saying. It's like, oh, I watch Netflix. Oh my God, that's how it's gonna be. Well, well, if I told you that my first $3 million deal, okay, when I was like 24, 25 years old, was from a $2,000 studio rental. Okay. So let's just put that into perspective. Yes, I was one of the youngest people at the firm I was at to do a $3 million deal. And everyone was kind of blown away and saying, where did this come from? How did this guy do it? Well, the way that I do it was actually very simple. I just did the work. I got a rental client off of a Craigslist ad. I met him on Wall Street and Broadway, right outside of Trinity Church, which is where a lot of the old school 2008, 2009, Craigslist brokers like myself and Ryan would be hanging out, getting getting clients and bringing them into these buildings that would pay OPs, which means that they're paying the commission. So you could just get the client. It's no fee to the client. You just walk them in the door and you kind of get it. I showed them all the regular suspects, the two golds, the 100 main lanes, all these different addresses, 63, 67 wall, and you have 95 wall. I ended up doing this deal at 200 Water Street. It was a tiny studio, but it had a really large outdoor space. And the guy liked it because he worked out. So little did I know when I checked in with him every couple months, because I was just, I didn't really have that many clients when I first started in the business. So I was trying to like stay in touch with everybody I did a deal with, like, hey, I don't know, more business. They're like, no, I'm living here. It's cool. I'm gonna renew. I'm like, great. Let's be friends anyway. Like, give me more business. And then he called me up one day and was like, hey, I'm looking to buy. I'm like, cool. What are you looking at? Like 400,000. Like, this sounds amazing. I'm like, I got a buyer. He's like, yeah, I got like 3 mil cash. What? You have 3 mil cash? He's like, yeah, let's find some like, dope thing in West Village, Chelsea, whatever. I was like, okay. All right. Now we're talking, and, kind of game on there. Little did you know, I mean, he was in CrossFit. He was a CrossFit instructor, and he would torture me. So before I would go out on the showings, he would literally make me take his class, and he would light me up and I wouldn't be able to walk. But you know what? I earned it. Okay. Nothing comes easy. You don't just walk around, get on a TV show, and all of a sudden make any chunk of money. You have to go through some sort of pain or torture. And that's exactly what I did. But I earned it. And then I learned that there's a real big value in keeping great contact and creating community with the people that you've done deals with. And, that's how I've been able to build my career. From literally knowing nobody, having no chance, a global financial meltdown. Everybody was confused about everything. And I just was out blindly taking pictures, putting them on the internet, getting leads, meeting them and showing them and following up with them even past closing. And that's how I got my start in the business, and I started doing these rental deals for, 2.5, 3 years. And then once I closed that $3 million deal, I made a brilliant decision to quit and decide to sell commercial real estate. So that was probably one of the biggest changes in my life, because I went from being somebody who was, showing, Timmy and his two guarantors from San Francisco apartments in the East Village. I was now calling some of the biggest landlords in the city on their cell phones and demanding that they give me information about their building so that I could sell it. And they're like, I'm not even selling. So it was quite the transition. In commercial real estate, I think, was one of the biggest catalysts in my career for learning how to cold call and stay with people on the phone. Because if you're able to do that and you learn that really well on the commercial side and you get shot down for 2 years, and I really invested 2 years of my time, I actually made zero money. I made all that money and then made zero money, bankrupted myself. Hilarious. But I'll tell you, I learned so much about myself. I learned how to make calls, and by translating that back into the residential side of things. But so it was just like, it was kind of a perfect storm. And a lot of people, they're just nice and they're stuck with what they know on the residential side. I think what's really unique and dynamic about me is I have such a broad range of experience, from commercial to development, from lease up projects to property management. I also did that when I first started in the business. I managed a number of properties in Bed-Stuy, and even Ridgewood, Queens when I first started. And I've just had every kind of walk and way of incapacity of working in real estate. I'm an active real estate investor. I currently own investment homes that, not only do I have rented out for the long term, but I also do Airbnb as well. So it's just been pretty cool. And at the end of the day, it's just about getting addicted to the work and the grind. It's about working harder and smarter all at the same time, but also loving what you do. And I love being a commercial broker for a while, and by making those phone calls, I felt I was experienced enough to create a brokerage, and I did that with a couple partners right after I was in commercial. So at the age of 28, I started this brokerage. It's called Dalian Realty. I believe they're still around today. Very very great company, and we built that up to about 35 agents, and I learned so much about team building and building operations and systems in that capacity of real estate, which especially in financial modeling and projections, and that really helps me with a lot of my higher end clients. So that is also a big factor, was learning in running that company all the way till I was about 30. Then I was approached by Compass, and worked at Compass for about 6.5 years until I kind of joined Sirhan. And Compass was really where I really came into my own as a senior agent. Before, when I was running my other company, I was in a leadership capacity. I was running kind of president, but also doing deals, but like also managing and also hiring. And it gets a little weird when you're competing against the people that potentially you work with, right? So um, I I just wanted to share all that because I think it's really important to understand like where I came from, and to understand that in order, I don't just show up here, right? Like people don't just show up at Sirhan. There's a long story, there's a long journey, and I can go into each one of those, particular stories, very, very deeply. But, the main points are that, I've had various different perspectives in the field of real estate in New York City. And most of that, at least for the first 10 years, was me having maybe one or two big successes, and then 99% of the time beyond that, I had very, very little success. And but what I was getting wisdom and knowledge and information that would only help me be more dangerous. And one of the things that I did was I was very intentional about every time I made an error to never let that happen again. Obviously, I'm a human, and sometimes that does happen, but being aware of it like it's a video game. I kind of take a lot of this as a video game. It's like, I think it's hilarious, but like, if you know that in this level and you do this and you fall in the lava pit, like it doesn't work, right? So like let's apply that to real life. Don't be, think like that as well. And I always try and implement and improve. And then, you kind of end up in a place like this. And I've been at Sirhan, and I've had, an incredible launch since then. And, it's just like, it's crazy just to see where and how many things I've done in my career. And then to end up at a place, like Sirhan, that really focuses on the media, on the podcast or the property tours, the YouTube, all of that, I think really plays into a lot of my strengths. And it's a big blessing to be in a situation like this, where now I sell luxury real estate. I also teach, sell it like Sirhan as a capstone agent. So as I do that, I do share my story a lot. So it's beautiful for me to sit down right now and be able to memorialize a lot of what I've been talking about for a long time. And, it's been an absolute blessing. I'm going to get deeper and deeper into a lot of the stories. I'm going to do story time in this podcast. I'm also going to invite guests on in this podcast. We're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about my career. We're going to talk about your career. We're going to talk about how to get into real estate, how to succeed in real estate, how to stay in real estate. I think in one of the next podcasts, we're also going to talk about how to survive New York City for 1 year. There's some pretty crazy hacks that I have for that as well. So there's so much that we have coming up in this podcast. And I know this is the first episode. So I just thank you so much for bearing with me. I think it's just been like an absolutely incredible idea. I can't thank Sirhan. I can't thank Sirhan Studios enough for putting this together. I'm Nile Lundgren. This is I don't even know what we're gonna call this podcast. Maybe it's just me, by the way, my first Instagram ever was the broker that never sleeps, because we're in the city that never sleeps, and I'm the broker that never sleeps because literally I was not sleeping. 2 a.m. I was like, yeah, you want to call me? Let's do it. So service with a smile, baby. Thank you so much. Please hit that notification bell. That's how you're going to know when I'm live, when I'm dropping new things. Subscribe. Please hit the like button and share if you don't mind. Thank you so much. Love you all.